point of order is being abused and being turned into something of an open mic night where people can just chime in however they feel, and Mr. Biddle in particular abusing the virtual aspect of this, where, you know, when he's here in person, he's slunking around, doesn't make a lot of noise. Now he's just unmuting himself whenever he feels like throwing in jibes and comments, and he's not being corrected. He's done this while Mr. Brock is speaking. You've not even addressed him at all when he interrupts and just throws things.
That, colleagues, are the words of Arnold Viersen, who you so passionately asked that he present this bill.
Yes, Mr. Maloney, I believe it was. Or no, I'm sorry. Mr. Biddle?
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify that though it was well spoken, Mr. Brock is embarrassed to bring his colleague to say those actual things before this committee. We can continue with witnesses if Mr. Viersen comes.
This is clearly debate.
Okay.
I look forward to hearing
you.
Mr. Biddle when his time comes on the speaking list.
I think I have the floor, Madam Speaker. Mr. Keurig is interrupting.
It's not a point of order,
I think that's that's unfortunate.
Okay.
A point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Biddle. Mr. Brock, the floor is
You know,
yours.
I find it.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Hey gang, what's up? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. Point of order. These committee meetings, guys, nothing quite like them. We've got this one from the Justice Committee. So the chair of this one is Lena Diab. And there are so many Liberals with ridiculous points of order. Larry Brock can't even get 2 words out without a foolish point of order. We've got Frank Drouin interrupting in here. We've got that loser James Maloney, trash, creep. We've got, what do we have out here, guys? What do we see out here? I think that's a seal. Anyways, never know what you're going to find. Yeah, Larry Brock can't get any words out without a stupid point of order from one of these loser Liberals. And Lena Diab is the worst chair. I think she's worse than Heidi Fry. Twitch, 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 and so full of herself, it's obnoxious and ridiculous.
That, colleagues, are the words of Arnold Viersen, who you so passionately asked that he present this bill.
Yes, Mr. Maloney, I believe it was. Or no, I'm sorry. Mr. Biddle?
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify that though it was well spoken, Mr. Brock is embarrassed to bring his colleague to say those actual things before this committee. We can continue with witnesses if Mr. Viersen comes.
MP Biddle is another waste of space. Like, who does not dislike this guy? Just interrupting Larry for spite. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
This is clearly debate.
Okay.
I look forward to hearing Mr. Biddle when his time comes on the speaking list.
I think I have the floor, Madam Speaker. Mr. Keurig is interrupting.
It's not a point of order,
I think that's unfortunate.
Okay.
A point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Biddle. Mr. Brock, the floor is
You know,
yours.
I find it.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
I'm going to ask, because there's quite a few numbers virtual, I'm going to ask you to please put your lights on or your hands up, not lights, I guess, your virtual hand up so that I can properly recognize you. And if I don't recognize you, I'll get help from the table here. If I don't see you, I'll do my best to do that. But please don't speak because there's several of you speaking at the same time. So that I can visually be able to monitor both those that are virtual as well as those that are in the room in person. Mr. Maloney, I know you have your virtual hand up, so please go ahead.
Thank you. It seems we're making some progress. We now have what appears to be Mr. Viersen's view on his own bill, but I'm now wondering now if Mr. Brock will provide Mr. Viersen so we can ask him some questions on that speech.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to,
Order either.
no, I'm going to ask Mr. Brock to continue with his
Thank you.
intervention.
And I invite the Liberal bench and the NDP bench and the Bloc, if they wish, point of order me all you want. Ultimately, it's just going to delay the number of hours that I have set aside for this intervention. So if you want me to speak till 11:30, continue to interrupt, because that's how long it's going to take for me to complete the intervention.
So-
and then maybe,
So, Mr. Brock,
Yes.
give me a minute. I have Mr. Biddle with his virtual hand up.
Thank you so much. I'd just like to clarify that Mr. Brock is acknowledging that he'd rather speak 12 hours than have Mr. Bierson come. That's
Madam
how
Chair,
embarrassed
this is not
he
point of
about
order.
Mr. Bierson and how ashamed the
Point of
Conservative
order.
Party
Madam Chair, you have to stop him. This is not a point of
about-
order.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
And
Biddle.
again, I'm being shouted down during my point of order, which is shocking.
no.
That's how embarrassed they are.
Mr. Carrick, you have your virtual hand up. And just before you do that, please in the room as well, please put your hand up, or just so that I can acknowledge you, so that I can't, because it's pretty hard for me to look both on the screen as well as every single person. And now I have Mr. Carrick's turn.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I actually have a point of order, unlike the previous intervention. I would ask for for the benefit of those of us who are virtual, I would ask, Madam Chair, that you share what the speaking list is. That would be most helpful for those of us who are
Okay, that's fabulous. Yes, I will. Thank you. I have Député Fortin et le prochain. Et après,
Mr. Fortin is next.
I had Mr. Lawrence, but I am informed by the table that you are not on the members anymore. And then I have Mr. Giovanni, because
Before I can, point of order, before I can be removed in accordance with the Order 115, it would have to be expressed in the motion of a will of the committee for me not to be able to speak. So that's inappropriate and actually a violation of my privilege. Please put me back on the list.
no, I mean but you.
Point of order,
I think
put me
we
back on
had
the list
read-
in accordance with 115.
I
Do your
haven't
job.
removed you yet,
Point of order,
but you
Madam
are
Chair?
an extra member right now because Mr. Carrick was subbed in for Miss Ferrari.
And for a member that's
Yeah.
not subbed in accordance with Rule 115 and 116, I am still allowed to speak unless the committee has expressed its will. And so I therefore get to stay on until the committee has said in the form of a motion that I am not to speak unless I'm subbed in. And they have not done that, so I shall stay on the list.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If the committee decides otherwise, then that's fine. Yep. So I was reading who's on the list. I think that's all I had. Mr. Kirk, did you have your hand up to be also put on the list? I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. In my initial intervention, I had requested, I think it was about 50 minutes ago.
So I haven't put anyone else, haven't put anybody in since you've been in, so you're on the list now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I do appreciate that.
You're very
Back
welcome.
in the
Thanks.
record, about 45 minutes ago, I'd requested to do so, but I appreciate you and the work that you and the clerk are doing to help keep things running here.
Doing our best. Thanks for appreciating that. So, Mr. Brock, back to you.
So before I was interrupted again by a point of order from Mr. Biddle, I have lost track how many points of order that he has made. And all he has done, Madam Chair, is engaged in debate. So I just telegraphed to Mr. Biddle and his team that the more they stop proceedings and allow me to not continue with my intervention, ultimately it's just going to delay the amount of time that I have set aside.
order,
I've
Madam
got numerous articles that I want to speak to, as well as describing
Point of order.
experiences. So see, we have a point of order again.
Just make sure you.
Perhaps this
okay,
time
I
it's
see the virtual hand.
Perhaps it's maybe the first point
Having
of order, not
difficulty recognizing who's trying to get my attention because there's too many of you. So just please please maintain. My role is to try and maintain order as best as I can. So help me out, members. I recognize you're all men, and I am a woman, but just give me a bit of break. The ladies that are in the room are being fabulous. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Biddle. I do recognize your virtual hand. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. As we have gone through, repetition is not appropriate. Mr. Brock is intentionally repeating himself. Point of orders or not, that's not an excuse. Despite how ashamed and embarrassed he is to have Mr. Viersen come, he cannot be repeating himself, and that is a violation of the standing orders.
Mr. Lawrence, I know you have your hand up. Can I just suspend for a minute or two? I just want to review the rules for a second with respect to extra members, because you are still an extra member. So just give me a moment.
Could I just?
Let's get the members back. Failing anyone's hand up, I'm just going to say, Mr. Brock, can you continue? Because I don't know where
I'd
we
love
were.
to, without interruption. Absolutely, I'd love to, Madam Chair.
Do your best.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Biddle okay with that?
Yeah, well, it depends on Mr. Biddle. I think the only thing that's shameful and embarrassing is the way that he's conducted himself with unnecessary points of order.
Point of order.
Now, he also indicated, which I touched a nerve.
Hold on, my lights was not on. Mr. Biddle, I'm recognizing you.
Personal attacks are not allowed
No.
under the standing orders. I guess Mr. Brock is so embarrassed by Mr. Viersen, he's going to engage in personal attacks against me, even though I've conducted myself under the standing orders. He's the one that's repeating himself, delaying it, and preventing Mr. Viersen and ultimately this study from proceeding.
Of order, Chair. So, Chair,
Mr.
I want to seek clarification, because this is Mr. Biddle's game. This is what he does. Despite myself, other members of the Conservative team voicing concerns that every one of Mr. Biddle's points of order were in fact debate and not points of order, I have yet to hear any direction from you, Madam Chair, who are charged with the responsibility of determining the validity or the lack thereof of points of order. So from this point forward, because if we continue at this pace, perhaps we're going to be here all next week with me continuing my intervention and listening to Mr. Biddle again trying to debate. He will have the opportunity at some point. I don't even know if his name's on the list. But what he likes to do is to distract, divide, and confuse. That's his game. And that's petty politics.
Yes, I'm under someone's
and that brings me to the original point I was making about the liberal game with respect to this particular study. So I'm asking you, Madam Chair,
go ahead.
to please exercise rulings and determine whether points of order are legitimate or not legitimate. Thank you.
Will do so. I have Mr. Maloney's hand, and then I have MP Drouin's hand up. So I just would like to hear everybody first. Thank you. I appreciate that. MP Maloney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I have the greatest of respect.
Good on Larry Brock for putting up with these liberals. It's very frustrating to watch. Lena Diab is a mess. And these liberals, shut up, James Maloney. Nobody likes listening to you.
For Mr. Biddle, I also have a great deal of respect for Mr. Brock. It is completely unnecessary and totally inappropriate to be casting aspersions at another member and imputing motive. Look, we're all professionals here. What does come to mind is the old saying, pot calling the kettle black. But I think that perhaps Mr. Brock, I know Mr. Brock thinks that relevance is subjective, but if he's going to start asking the chair for rulings on every single intervention, he's going to be interrupted by, more frequently, not only by Mr. Biddle, but by every other member in this committee. The point is, look, I don't think Mr. Biddle is doing anything inappropriate. He is addressing issues of relevance. He's trying to keep his conduct professional, as he always does. And I think Mr. Brock's comments towards him are not only 100% wrong, they're completely inappropriate. And I hope we can rise above that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. And my list has grown, and it's all on the point of order, so that's great. I'd love to hear them all. I will go with Mr. Drouin, Monsieur Drouin. Après ça, we have...
After Mr. Drouin, we have Mr. Giovanni, and then Mr. Lawrence.
More, but
Madam
please,
Chair,
Mr.
as I
Drouin.
listened attentively to Mr. Brock's argument, I'm just wondering if he could explain to this committee the rationale he was posing in terms of a member making a statement in the House, and therefore they don't need to appear. And I'm just wondering if that was the same logic that the member from Perth Wellington, who spoke on S227 and sponsored S227, and was not afraid to appear before a committee. And I would ask him whether or not he's had a discussion with Mr. John Nader, who had the courage to appear before a committee, a parliamentary committee, to testify on a bill that he's sponsoring himself. I would assume that Mr. Viersen would have the same courage.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm not familiar with the S227, but point taken. MP Giovanni, please.
I think Mr. Brock's point is that the point of order is being abused and being turned into something of an open mic night where people can just chime in however they feel. And Mr. Biddle in particular abusing the virtual aspect of this, where, you know, when he's here in person, he's slunking around, doesn't make a lot of noise. Now he's just unmuting himself whenever he feels like throwing in jibes and comments, and he's not being corrected. He's done this while Mr. Brock is speaking. You've not even addressed him at all when he interrupts and just throws things. If we were doing that in here, you would say something. He's abusing the virtual format, and I think he needs to be corrected, Madam Chair.
So thank you for your comments, and I do recognize members are now waiting to be acknowledged, whether it's virtually or in the room. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. No, they've all been acknowledging that.
He's unmuted himself.
So Mr. Lawrence, and I do see virtually Mr. Couric, you'd be next, and then I see Madame Dillon après vous. Alors, Mr. Lawrence, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you rightfully pointed out, it is your responsibility to maintain order and decorum, and that looks increasingly difficult. And so you have my condolences with respect to that responsibility. You rightfully called me out earlier for talking too loud with Mr. Drouin, and you were completely within your rights, and I apologize for causing any distraction. But I will say that there has been as Mr. Giovanni has said and Mr. Brock has said, there has been a pattern of Mr. Maloney and Mr. Biddle creating fake points of order that are equally, if not more distracting than having a sidebar conversation with a colleague. And so I have seen in other committees, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, that would be presumptuous, but I've certainly seen in other committees where there is a pattern, the chair will make sure that the individual starts with a rule that they're citing that's a point of order. And before they are allowed to commence, they have to cite that rule. And I think that that might be a fair practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Couric.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I look forward to continuing to hear what Mr. Brock has to say, and the specificity in which he is addressing the very important issues related to Bill C-270 and the motion that Mr. Maloney had moved, which is actually on the agenda. But I would just note, Madam Chair, that in terms of departure from the standing orders, the continual introduction of issues of debate into the conversation related to the conversation at hand by, in particular, members from the Liberal side. I would just maybe suggest, Madam Chair, through you, that those members simply put their names on the speaking list, and I look forward to hearing from them when their name comes up on the speaking list. And I would just ask, if I could, for you to outline again for the committee who exactly is on that speaking list. I know there's been a little bit of discussion and people getting back and forth, and I know there was some discussion as to whether a member who is present, although not a regular member of the committee, if we can just have some clarity in that, because as I know you appreciate and respect, being able to have clarity and act with precision is key for the smooth functioning of these parliamentary proceedings.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Couric. I'll come back to you. I have Madame Dillon, and I know she's been very patient. So, j'apprécie beaucoup vos soutiens. Alors.
Thank you for your support. You have the floor, Madame Dillon.
I just wanted to raise this, and I've been noticing it for the last 2 hours, that the Conservative members are talking down to you. They are talking aggressively to you, making insinuations about how you are managing the committee. Under the guise of polite suggestion, they are saying, may we suggest, may we do this, may we tell you how to do that. This is very, very condescending towards you. And you pointed it out, and I was going to before you did, because it's really, really disturbing to see that a bunch of male Conservative colleagues are telling you how to manage the committee. Shame on you. I am sick and tired of hearing this. And yes, you are surrounded only by males. And sorry if I'm getting loud. Sorry to the interpreters. This needs to stop. If we're going to do this for the next 9 hours, bring it on. Who cares? I don't want to hear anyone talking. Points of order are points of order. That's up to you to qualify them, but you're not even being allowed to listen to them. So bon courage, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madame Dillon, and I wish you a good recovery. I know you're not feeling well this week. So are we finished with the points of orders now? And I do appreciate things. I do appreciate everybody trying to work together again so that we can continue on with the meetings.
How about Lena Diab, guys? What a mess that chick is, eh? Woo! Blink, blink, blink much? Goodness gracious. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe, get notified. We're trying to show as many committee videos as possible covering Canadian federal politics. Thank you for watching this video. We'll check you out in the next one. Take care, gang. Lena Diab, what a clown. What a monster. These liberals just keep interrupting. No point. Oh well. Larry can handle himself, I think. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.